I'm Brandi Lytle, founder of Not So Mommy and creator of the Childless Not by Choice Awareness Ribbon. This week, in partnership with Tutum Global, we are owning our voice during National Infertility Awareness Week. In this special Tutum Talks series, we will speak with experts who unpack topics that are important to people who are involuntarily childless. Today, we're talking with Jody Day, founder of Gateway Women, the global friendship and support network for childless women with a social reach of about 2 million. It started as a blog in 2011 and celebrated its 10th anniversary in April 2021. Jody is the author of Living the Life Unexpected: How to Find Hope, Meaning, and a Fulfilling Future Without Children. Chosen as one of BBC's 100 Women in 2013, she's a thought leader on female involuntary childlessness, an integrative psychotherapist, a TEDx speaker, and a social entrepreneur, a founding and former board member of Aging Well Without Children, and a former fellow in social innovation at Cambridge Judge Business School. Often referred to as the voice of the childless generation, and less often but memorably coined as the Beyonce of childlessness by Jody, she's a proud World Childless Week champion and Plica ambassador. She lives in Ireland, where she's working on a novel and her new Conscious Childless Elder Women project. Welcome, Jody.
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction, Brandi. It's lovely to be here.
Well, we are so glad that you are here. And before jumping in with today's topic, would you briefly share a bit of your childless journey?
Absolutely. It's a little bit of a while ago now, but I was unable to conceive within my marriage. I struggled with unexplained infertility. And at the point when we kind of were just starting to think about fertility treatments, the stress of, long-term infertility and my then husband's, sadly, addiction issues, I think, being in an infertile marriage was a very stressful experience. Kind of the marriage didn't survive. So I found myself at 38, sort of single and childless. I hoped to meet another partner to do IVF with, which was pretty much all I knew about it, apart from the fact that it always worked. I found out that that was a bit of a myth. I didn't find someone who wanted to do IVF with me, so at 44 and a half, it was kind of game over for me. But although I haven't had infertility treatments myself, I have supported thousands and thousands of women who are childless after infertility.
Well, thank you for sharing a bit of your story with us. Within the childless community, aging without children is being discussed more and more. And from concerns about who will care for us as we grow older to questions about who we leave our most prized belongings to, we childless continue to face complicated decisions throughout our lives. Would you please give us your perspective on aging without children, as well as tell us about your Conscious Childless Elder Women project?
Thank you. And thank you for making a space for this really important topic. I think that in my experience, most childless women and childless people, once they kind of get to that moment of kind of like, gosh, this is really my reality, I am definitely not going to be a parent, often kind of the next thought that comes up is, but who's going to take care of me when I'm old? And it's a really difficult one to discuss, because I've often noticed that if I try to raise this issue with people who do have children, they'll say to me, well, I didn't have children so that they could take care of me. And I believe them. Because certainly when I was trying to conceive, it wasn't on my mind. But the fact is, if you do have children, you can sort of defer your thinking. It may be an unconscious decision, but you can push those thoughts down the line in a way that those of us who are childless and child-free simply can't. And I think when you combine the ideologies of pronatalism plus sexism, and then you add to that ageism, you end up with such an unholy trinity of kind of scary things pushing back against you. I think it's only really, really natural to sort of just push it aside. It's just too big to contemplate. And it's not just us, in the UK, in the USA, more than 50% of people don't have a will. So it's really very normal to kind of not want to think about this. But one of the problems with not thinking about it is that because we don't come together and talk about it and think about it, we don't discover that there are actually already really great initiatives out there. And also, we've learned within the childless community that if we want change to happen, we have to make it happen. No one's going to do it for us. You know, the last 10 years of Gateway Women has really shown me gradually, bit by bit, we can start to influence, you know, public thinking and public discourse, you know, just by our own efforts. And so it is with, you know, with Aging Without Children. I was so excited to be asked to be one of the founding members at Aging Well Without Children, which started in the UK in 2015 and which has now become a registered UK charity. And I very much hope to be doing more work with them again soon, because certainly the pandemic has really highlighted how ageist our society is, and also how important it is for people, older people, to have access to younger advocates. There's often the idea that support around elderly care is like intimate care, but actually a lot of the support that adults who are aging without children need are advocacy. It's also people just to help them with the huge burden of admin that, you know, that a modern life entails. And that's why adults with Aging Without Children are 25% more likely to go into a residential long-term care facility, and at much lower levels of kind of health dependency, because it's not, the health isn't the reason they're there. It's the fact that they don't have someone to help them continue to live independently. And I think that is going to be the key to making a big difference to Aging Without Children in the future.
Thank you for sharing your expertise. You mentioned a couple of things that honestly I had never really thought about. One, that 50% of people don't have a will. I fall into that category. We don't have a will. We've talked about it, but we haven't actually done it. So I was wondering if you could give a little bit of advice about where do you think people should start with making a will?
Okay, I think the most helpful thing I can say about making a will is it doesn't have to answer all the eventualities that you can imagine happening to you. I think the most useful thing as advice is a will defines what would happen if you died tomorrow. If you think of it like that, it becomes a lot more manageable. You don't have to think, well, what if so-and-so this happens and then that happens and then that person dies and then this person, no, what would happen tomorrow? And I think also there is an idea that a will is there to only if you have really important assets and things you want to pass on. But actually, even if you have very few assets, and there's this myth which we all know, the idea that all childless people have got like loads of spare cash lying around, not true. Especially single childless people, they have much higher living costs. Very unlikely to have large amounts of cash to pass on. But actually what a will does is it means that that person or persons, whoever is your next of kin, who has a legal responsibility to take care of your estate after you've gone, whether you're in debt or whether you're a millionaire, they have no guidance. And they have to go through a very complicated legal process to kind of take care of your affairs because you haven't left guidance. And all that does is get lawyers very rich. People dying without a will is great for lawyers. But it's actually at a time of great stress and upset in other people's lives, those people left behind, to leave without a will is actually, to be very British, it's actually very bad manners to those people who will be clearing up your affairs after your death. And all it has to do is to define the main things that need to happen. The little bits and pieces about, which piece of furniture you'd like to go to which person, that can all be in a supplementary letter. It doesn't have to be in the will. It can be a document which you can change by yourselves very easily, rather than it being part of the main body of the will. So it can really reflect your up-to-date needs. Now, in the UK, it's called a letter of wishes. It's probably called something else in North America, but I know that the principle remains the same.
Thank you. That makes it a lot more manageable to just think about the present day. And like you said, to not worry about all the what ifs that might happen in the future. And I really didn't know about the letter of wishes. And So that definitely helps as well to realize something like that could be changed as the years go on if you need it to. I also thought it was interesting that you said that who is going to take care of you when you're older. I mean, personally, I do. I always think of that intimate care as far as, who will visit and things of that nature. But the advocacy and then the admin issues, I had never really fully considered. I guess I'm taking it more of an emotional standpoint where, and correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like a lot of your advice is to focus more on the practicality of things and to get things set up to where when you're gone, someone knows specifics, what you wanted, and then as well just to have someone who can just really help you with bank accounts and health questions and things like that.
I think it's a dual issue, as there's the emotional side of it and there's the practical side of it. I find that often people get a bit frozen in the headlights about the practical side of it because of the emotional side. But actually, if you get the practical side sorted out, even to a very basic level, it does give you a slight feeling of emotional security. Now, with regard to the emotional side of relationships as we get older and not having children in our lives as we get older, I think that's when it becomes really important to think about building community, about intergenerational relationships. And that brings me kind of to my Conscious Childless Elder Women project. So I will be 57 this year. So I am #apprentice crone. And I'm very interested in learning from childless women who are older than me and building those intergenerational connections. My hope is that over the next 10 years, Gateway Women can sort of begin to help people form networks with older and younger childless women in their local communities, because that's a key thing about aging, is that if we want to age in place, we need to be in that place. And we need to know people in our local area. And I just have a hope that I will be able to facilitate deep connections between childless women who are maybe 20 years apart, so that the older ones can become mentors to the younger ones. The younger ones in time can be those advocates for the older childless women in their lives. And that we can build within our very loving, very generous, very compassionate, very experienced childless community, those kinds of relationships that will support us and hopefully plug the gaps in some ways from not having children.
That's absolutely beautiful. And I'm very excited that you are working on that project. Again, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. I mentioned Gateway Women. You've mentioned Gateway Women. Will you please let those watching know how they can connect with you?
Thank you. Yes, it's gateway-women.com. But actually, if you just go gatewaywomen.com, you will get there. And you will also find me on Instagram and Twitter @Gateway Women.
Well, again, thank you so much for chatting with us today, Jody, and thank you for watching. If you would like to see more in the Tutum Talks series, please subscribe to the Childless Women Network YouTube channel.
Thank you so much, Brandi.